Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk a little about the uh, the OceanGate submarine that was a tourist submarine visiting the ruins of the RMS Titanic that apparently imploded from within, leaving dozens of missing passengers on this historic trip. What struck me about this case was how much it parallels the original story of the Titanic that happened 111 years ago in, uh, hey Lisa, what's going on? In 1918. Yeah, excuse me, 1912. That we all, probably people from my generation, remember from the movie. This is the exact same situation happened here. A bunch of rich people that wanted to do something adventurous, wanted to do something historic. In the case of the 1912 situation, it was being the first to sail in an unsinkable ship, supposedly unsinkable, across the Atlantic Ocean from the United States to England. And in the case of this, to see the exact same ship, the ruins of the exact same ship, um, 111 years later. But in both cases, here you have the arrogance of people, people thinking that nothing can go wrong. Even though, in both cases, as you can see in the title here, it was known as early as 2018 when they planned this trip that it wasn't foolproof, that there were problems with this sort of underwater tourism. Because, see, people are not no longer satisfied in the world with just tourism to places that they know. They're no longer satisfied with going to various countries. Dubai isn't enough. Africa isn't enough. Exotic locales on Earth here above land aren't enough. Now, as you see with SpaceX and Elon Musk, they want to go to Mars. They want to go to outer space. They want to go to with this with underwater. They want to push the frontiers. And naturally, this is a part of human curiosity. This is a part of the human experience. This is why we had Manifest Destiny. This is why we had exploration and eventually led to exploitation in many cases. But also, this is a part of our hubris. For many, our hubris and our arrogance. For many people that are old enough to remember, there was a situation like this regarding space with the Challenger in 1986, where a teacher, for the first time ever, a civilian, a non astronaut, was going to go into space, and unfortunately, the ship exploded. It was very similar to what had happened with the Titanic, also in 1937, the Hindenburg. So each and every time, and those who are familiar with biblical stories are familiar with the Tower of Babel. They tried to build a tower in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, a tower. So, yes, exactly. A tower so big that it reached heaven, and God, God in the Bible intervened with their plans. So, human beings, in our desire to want to be greater than we are, in our desire to want to push the envelope further and explore the different frontiers of our world, sometimes run into this situation. The Titanic is one example. This is another example. Like the commenter said, the Challenger is another example. I'm struck by a line in the Titanic movie, the 1997 um, rendering of the story, in which the designer of the ship is telling them that the ship cannot survive being flooded, but in all five compartments. And there's a guy in the background who says, "But this ship can't sink," because that was the hype behind Titanic, that the ship was unsinkable. right? And then the designer of the ship looks at the guy and says, "But she's made of iron, sir. She can sink, and she will. It's only a mathematical certainty." In other words, no matter what we build, no matter what um, contraption we construct, still we fall short of perfection when we try to push to the limits that we cannot push to. Now, is curiosity good? Is it good to explore? Is it good to push our limits? Sure. But sometimes God, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, intervenes and says, listen, this was not it was not meant you were not meant to go here. You were never meant to push this boundary and push this far. And unfortunately, things like this happen, especially when we don't do the research and we think that it can never happen. Don't underestimate nature, and don't try to think that you can outsmart nature or God, or you can outsmart the environment or the universe or whatever operative word you want to use. Because when you think you can't be defeated, you also most certainly will be defeated. Never underestimate what can happen in the worst case scenario in any situation, especially when it comes to things like this, especially when you're seeing evidence as they were with this case. And there was this 19-year-old kid that was a passenger on this ship, and he was deathly afraid to go on this mission, and he was made to by his parents. My whole thing is it is the exact same location where this thing happened 111 years ago. And the thing about it is much has changed with technology and with the outer trappings of the world, but not much has changed with the environment in that same part of the North Atlantic. As rough as it was, as rough as the waters or an ice filled as the waters were in when the RMS Titanic first sank, I'm pretty sure they're pretty much either the same or much worse in a situation like this. And it's just proving to people that if they're going to do underwater tourism like this, for history buffs, for people that want to explore, say, try to find, I mean, hell, people will, knowing human beings, will try to find the lost ruins of Atlantis if we can, because that's just, again, our natural curiosity. But what it's telling us is that never underestimate what could happen, and also do your research and do your vetting and make sure that the people are safe. It seems like no matter what, a lot of times we never really learn from our mistakes. Now, another thing that people are talking about, and um, they're bringing attention to it, was in Greek waters. Yeah, Lisa's bringing up an actual good point. Uh, Use an actual submarine and not a video game controller. Yeah, they were controlling this by means of a video game, which is some kind of new technology that they're looking into. Apparently, it's kind of like drones, basically. You know how they do drones in the military? They're trying to do it in a more simpler fashion. But again, trying to do something that has never been done and trying to traverse a path that has never been done, especially when it comes to something involving civilians, people that are not trained, like Professor Ronnie is saying here that it's so similar to the Challenger because here you have people that are not trained, people that are not really professionals, people that are just regular people, going on this trip, and they don't really know what's going on. And like Lisa's saying, it's using a video game controller, not something that is proven workable and proven foolproof. Not they're experimenting with stuff. They're trying new stuff, and if they're gonna try new stuff, they need to use trained professionals and not regular people, not novices. Because if something goes wrong when it comes to people that are novices, people that don't really know what they're talking about or doing or anything, people that are not like people that do this kind of stuff every day. when something goes wrong, you're not going to know what to do. Now, interestingly enough, James Cameron, the director of the 1997 the movie Titanic, he says he had a feeling in his gut that something was going to happen. He himself has been down to the wreckage of the Titanic a number of times, 33 times to be exact, and it was successful. But given that this was a new technology and they were trying something new, he had a feeling that something was going to go wrong. Now, why he didn't voice his concern or why he didn't say anything, and he's saying that he regrets it now. In retrospect, I guess he would regret it. But why he didn't say anything initially, I have no idea. He probably could have saved a lot of lives if he had actually spoke up. You know, they go to him as if he. I mean, I know he's been to the wreckage of the Titanic, but they go to him as a source because uh, apparently he's a movie director and he knows a lot about this stuff. Not, you know what I mean? I mean, I understand that's the first name that probably comes to mind in their in modern ways of thinking because his association with the movie. But still, I mean. It's kind of like the Dave Chappelle skit when they asked when Dave Chappelle says, "Well, after 9/11, they asked Ja Rule, what does he think? What do you think, Ja Rule?" You know what I mean? Like, why would Ja Rule know anything about the inner workings of what happened on 9/11? He's just a freaking celebrity. So same thing here. Like with James Cameron, it's like, okay, yeah, he made the movie and he's been down to the wreckage of the Titanic, but why would he be an expert on what went wrong here as comparison to anybody else besides those things? You know what I mean? And if he knew something was up, he should have said something. Now, uh, Lisa brought this to my attention, and I didn't really realize that. Off the coast of Greece, there was another shipwreckage of refugees from Libya that people are not talking about, and people, of course, are making the comparison or making the claim that this is because the Libyan refugees are, um, you know, people of color, and they are, you know, it's an example of the media, you know, um, white privilege or maybe wealth privilege. They're they're focusing more on this, and of course that probably is true because in this voyage, the OceanGate thing, there probably wasn't. I mean, there was a couple. There was like one wealthy Arab family, but other than that, there were no like Africans or African American families or anything on this. So of course, the media is going to shine, um, shine about this. But I think this story is a little bit peculiar. I mean, stuff like this, stuff like the Libyan thing, probably happens a lot because you always have people coming in from other parts of the world and stuff. You know what I mean? And while that uh, is unfortunate, that is sad. I think what shocks people about this is the parallels to the original story. I mean, here they are going to look at the Titanic, and something very similar, eerily similar, happens to them on this ship, just like it happened to them on the original Titanic. You know what I mean? And I think that's why they focus more on that than the Libyan story. Not that the Libyan story isn't equally as tragic. It's just that the kind of thing that happens, especially like traversing waters between countries, like across the Mediterranean or across like Greek waters to from Libya to Italy, or from like Morocco to Spain. That kind of stuff. Unfortunately, that kind of stuff happens all the time. This kind of stuff really doesn't happen all that much. You know what I mean. And plus, because of the status of the individuals involved, like Lisa saying, they're all rich and wealthy individuals, kind of like the original Titanic. They were all wealthy individuals. They were all people of means looking to sail the unsinkable ship, looking for a publicity boost. Um, in their social profiles. A lot of times, rich people have so much money, rich and wealthy, influential people that they don't know what to do with it, and instead of being more benevolent, they try this stupid kind of stuff, and it fails. I mean, if you watch the TV show Westworld, right? In the TV show Westworld, starring Ed Harris and Jimmy Simpson, here you have, it's just like in this, you have an example of people, rich people that are just have a lot of money to blow, and they're just bored, and they want some adventure in their life. They want some life in their life. They want some excitement in their life. So what do? They create an artificial park, a western, an old west theme park with robots that are cowboys and Indians, replicas of the old west, and the robots, just so they could participate in some old western reenactment, and the robots, who are called the host, end up turning on them and end up killing them. And it's an interesting plot, and it goes into a lot of this. Like Ed Harris character in the show, he has so much money he doesn't know what to do with it. He has so much money that his wealth and his greed consume him, and he's just bored with his everyday, regular, mundane life, and he just wants to reach back into a more primitive time and push the frontiers of his life. You know, and that's what everyone in this park, created by Anthony Hopkins' character, uh, does. You know what I mean? They feel like they want to play God. They feel like they want to push the boundaries of nature and push the boundaries of the human experience because they have the money to do so. Well, it's like the old saying, "Why did you do it?" Because I can. You know what I mean? And that's what I think these kind of people do, or the people that try to make space tourism a thing, because they're just so bored with their life. They just want some kind of excitement. Whereas everyday middle class or poor people are just trying to eke out an existence and just trying to make ends meet each and every day. But they don't have time to think about, well, what if I had enough money to go into the water? Or what if I had enough money to go into space? Or what if I had enough money to create a Western theme park? You know what I mean? They don't have that kind of money to blow, but if they did, they would probably spend it on, more meaningful things, meaningful as in material things. These kind of people are just looking for excitement, looking to, you know, have something fun to do, and it turns on them, just like it did in that show, just like it did with the Titanic, and just like it did with this story. So next time you want to spend money on something that seems adventurous but seems kind of foolish, think twice because you may end up like these people. Of course, we're praying, I guess, for the, not I guess, but we're praying for the families. Of course, you never want to see something like this happen, but it's just a cautionary tale. It's just something that always happens with humanity. Humanity's hubris and the arrogance of humanity never ceases to amaze me when it comes to things like this. But anyway, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out. Love you.